Yeah, Zoom is that's why I had to stop doing Zoom because
Yeah, that's all right. So, hi, Gage. How are you doing today?
I'm doing wonderful. How about yourself?
Awesome. Wonderful. So, today we have Gage Kern with us, and he's going to kind of share with us kind of how life has been for him growing up with autism and then some of the pivotal moments in his life, as well as something super exciting that we'll talk about at the end that we really want to make sure you all tune in for. So, Gage, we're happy that you could join us today. And to start, I guess, could you just share a little bit about your early life? What was your childhood like? And like, how did autism impact your experiences as a kid growing up?
Early on, yeah, I actually asked my parents this because I don't really remember much. Like probably the
That's
earliest was
okay.
probably like 8 or 9 years old, but
Hmm.
5 years old, I didn't speak until I was 5 years old, and that's kind of how I got the diagnosis of autism. And that was a big reason why I didn't speak. My mom thinks it was because I chose not to. Who knows? But yeah, it started very early, and I had early signs like my mom would keep candies and sweets up in the cabinet, trying to keep it away from me, and I would build boxes, and I would get to it. Like I always showed like signs of high intelligence from
Hmm.
early. And later on, it was once I became more aware, it got a little bit more difficult.
Yep.
Really was until I got in public schools that really it got really frustrating and very difficult. I was in special needs. I got in there when I was like 12, so probably in like sixth grade. And
Okay.
there was a lot of judgment and things like that very early on because people be like, "Oh, what are you doing there?" And we did like a lot of job sites early on, like 2 to 3 days a week. We would go in the laundromat or clean up trash by Walmart. So it was very confusing time and it's very difficult
Hmm.
because there's a lot of bullying and a lot of judgments. And for people with autism or
Yep.
people with disabilities, everyone's expectations, counselors, teachers, they put at a very high low. Like basically only our expectations are being janitors or like low end jobs. So there
Right.
wasn't a lot of hope, and it really brought your confidence down, especially if you wanted to dream big. You know,
Hmm. Yeah. So, did you really understand what your diagnosis was during all this or why you were in these special classes? Or did you, if you did understand it, like, were you going through some like emotional anger or disappointment or like kind of what was
oh,
all
I
that
definitely
about?
went through a lot of anger. I didn't find I had autism until actually I was a freshman.
Okay.
I was like, because for a long, my parents didn't tell me because I guess they didn't want to have that tough conversation or had a difficulty having it.
Hmm.
So I was very confused at a young age. I got very, why am I being treated different? You know, because I feel like I can do as much as anybody else. And
Yeah.
it was very frustrating and difficult time. You know, it caused a lot of anger and sadness. Um, and yeah, I'm sure a lot of people experience that with autism that went through schooling and were diagnosed at a young age. Like,
Hmm. Yeah. So, how did you navigate all that? How did you get through it all?
I didn't, be honest, I didn't navigate very. I went through a lot of anger, and for me, I hit my pain for smiling and being like a jokester or just being like a class clown. Like even this one time,
Hmm.
I was leaning against my chair, just being silly. I went back and I knocked one of my baby teeth out. And it was funny because the teacher's like, "That's what happens, Gage, when you're always acting silly," you know. And
Uh,
uh,
yeah,
and
but
it really wasn't until I got it was my sophomore year of high school
hmm.
and I was in this world cultures class, and this girl had this speech about people that really about pain, like people that smile the most are usually the ones in most pain, and
Hmm.
that really shocked me to my core because that's what I was doing because I was on a football team and they bullied me as well. There's only like a few of them that really had my back with that, and I was and there's a lot of judgment. There wasn't a lot of people that had high expectations for me or my other classmates. So it was a
Right.
very difficult time, and you know, doing job sites and things like that. It was it was just a very confusing time, and I was just very angry. I stopped kind of
Mm-hmm.
caring. I stopped caring. I was falling behind classes, and I almost came to a state of like depression, and it was like that for a minute. And because I came to acceptance of autism, but in a very negative way. I was like, this is it. There's nothing I can do, and basically I was like, I'm done. There's nothing I can do, and
Mm-hmm.
this is just reality.
Yeah. So do you feel like the not just the schools, but society in general really limited your ability to feel like you could have potential just because of your autism label?
100%. Because society
Mhm.
didn't really give you much with people with autism. And especially there's videos and things like that. Like Autism Speak actually released a video in 2009. I didn't find this out till like a year ago, but it was basically giving autism a very bad name. And
Mhm.
there's a lot of society norms that were like, autism is a full-on disability. There's nothing you can do.
Mhm.
The best thing they could hope for is maybe be a janitor and get like help for AIDS and things like that. And it was a very difficult time because I had big dreams, and I felt like they got smashed when I heard
Yeah.
like, "Oh, be
Yeah.
realistic." It's not realistic. At most, maybe if you're lucky, you can get like a community college, with help. And it just like
Hmm.
it was heartbreaking,
Yeah.
especially at that young of age.
Right. Right. So,
And outside of school, it was not like the norm. Just a lot of people didn't have very high expectations, and they either looked at me with pity or basically just pity. They didn't really looked at you very
right.
high with high expectations.
Right, right. And you just wanted to be embraced. So, at what point in your life, whether it's childhood, adolescence, or now adulthood, did you realize that neurodiversity was actually a strength?
It took me until I was in a very dark place in my life where I did not think I was going to make it to the next day. And it,
Mm-hmm.
it was a time where I lost my brother and best friend, and it really was until I kind of decided to go my own route to find happiness my way and not always go by what other people are saying and their expectations of me. And it's
Right.
been a long journey. There's been a lot of ups and downs,
Mm-hmm.
but I found my calling, and that is to be a leader in the autism community and to really follow my heart and to
I
not
love
always
it.
go by society's norms. Because if it worked, there wouldn't be so many autistic people that are depressed and struggling. And I think there needs to be
Mm-hmm.
more awareness and acceptance because there's a lot of people
Yes.
struggling,
Mm-hmm.
especially in the employment line. Like there's a lot of work opportunities as well. So overall, there needs to be a lot of change.
I agree with you. Absolutely. So, how do you feel the support or lack of support in the education system? How do you think they could make it better? Like, if you were to walk into a school today and say, you need to do this with your students with autism, what would you tell them?
Um, that's a good question. I think it's having a little bit more awareness and being careful with what you say, because especially at a young age, work stick to you as a kid. I think it's more like not giving them such low expectations, but help them really find their passions in life. Not always working on their weaknesses, but on their strengths. Because
Right.
obviously, being autistic, there's going to be a couple of cons. There's going to be a couple of things we struggle with that people that are not neurodivergent are not going to struggle with. But people work on
Hmm.
our strength, which is what I did in my once I got out of high school. It helped me greatly. So I think that's the starting point. And to not always bunch everyone together. Like really, I think money needs to be invested and really try to give people that are have disabilities the best chance because they do have a lot of gifts.
Yeah. And just realizing that what you just said brings us to the forefront of my mind is that autism isn't something that needs to be fixed. It's something that people have, and you got to embrace the uniquenesses of it and grow with it. You shouldn't want to try to get rid of the autism out of the student, right?
Exactly, and it's
Yeah.
I think that especially when we're talking about cures and things like that, And it's almost like talking like a disease. I think that's prohibiting the overall goal. Like I think we should be
Right.
more focusing on how we can help these people, this community thrive with their gifts and not
Mm-hmm.
worry about fixing it, because fixing it, you're saying there's a problem and really there isn't a problem. It's just find different ways to improve it and really reach
Yes. I
our
love it.
strengths.
Yes, I love it. Awesome. Yeah. So what role did self-advocacy and self-awareness start playing in your journey? Like, what are you doing now? Because I know you got some big things on the horizon, and we want to kind of talk about what those are and how you got involved in it, and then what you're doing to help advocate for the autism community and get the word out there to stop the stigma.
There is a lot of things I'm working on. I'm going to start from the beginning. Just to give a brief summary.
Yep.
So 2023, so that was like about a year ago, a little over a year ago now. I had like a massive autism burnout. So I was working like 30 hours a week. I was uh, I was working consistently, and I was trying to do my other podcast, which is sports. I was starting to lose my passion for that because I'm not really, it's not helping anybody. It's more entertainment in my
Mm-hmm.
perspective. And I was just getting burnt out of both of them. And then it took me until I went to the House on the Forest, which is amazing place. Actually, I volunteered for 2 months. It's a place where you
Mm-hmm.
can kind of come together, connect with other people. They have tree houses and things like that, but it's a great community. But that really helped me get the vision of autism talk, which is like really
Mm-hmm.
bringing awareness, the acceptance of the autism community. And I've done that for the past like 7 months. And I actually connect with people on social media, which led me to Team Awesomeness.
Okay.
A mother and son, they own the organization and are helping autistic adults become more entrepreneurs because 80% of them are unemployed just because of work environments. So that's what they're
Yep.
working on. They've been doing a phenomenal job with that. And Lynn is actually one of the co-hosts of ICAN Conference. It's their first time in the
Awesome.
States because they've been out. They've been international for the past like 3 years.
Okay.
And I got invited as a speaker and a couple other people I know because they're really trying to get more autistic voices out there.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just an incredible opportunity. Just many incredible people involved, and I'm really looking forward to it.
Yeah, I'm excited too. I'm gonna try to get down there and meet you and get to listen to everybody. It will be super exciting. Can you give a really brief overview for everyone that doesn't know what is the ICAN conference or convention?
I got to look more details in it, but briefly, it's about getting more autistic voices out there. Actually, Temple Grandin's going to be the keynote speaker there, and
Mm-hmm.
a lot you might know her. She is a
Yep.
very well-known person in the autism community, has made tremendous difference. And she and I'm trying to see the other person's name, but
Yeah.
it's the organization called Autism Connect, and they're doing
Mm-hmm.
incredible stuff in that organization, and they're bringing more international speakers from the autism community in that.
Yep.
So we'll get like more awareness throughout the world with
Yep.
autism. So it's a great opportunity for connection and to connect with more people in the community.
Yeah, and it's just a great place to learn more about autism and get different resources, right? If you have autism, what's out there for you. Because I think
Oh
the
yeah,
world
they're
is
gonna have
growing.
not only people that they're autistic, but people that are like um that are therapists, people that
Yep.
are really or counselors and things like that that have a lot of
Mm-hmm.
knowledge on the autism community and mixed with people that live with autism. It's going to be very informational and I think it's going to be really huge for the community.
Yes, I love it. That's wonderful. So, what do you think is the most important thing that the general public does not understand about autism that you want to let them know?
It's a gift. It's a gift. And I will say this: even calling it disability can be damaging because words to me now this might be on a little spiritual side of things, but I
It's
words
okay.
have power, and I think
Yep.
disability means a lack of ability. And I would like to bring a new spin on that because I believe autism is a gift and it's an ability. I
Mhm.
like, for example, like Albert Einstein and Greta Thunberg, Elon Musk. Like, there's so many people that made a difference in the world, and I think it's a gift. I think more people should see it as that.
Yep, I love that. So, how do you think, what are some of the things you think we can do, not just you and I, but anybody who's watching this or anybody who gets information or involved in the autism community, how can we help end the stigma?
Starts with ourselves, our own mindset, because obviously we can bring word and we can spread the word and bring awareness, but it really starts with you. It's your perspective. And I just recommend before you have any judgments or perspectives on autism, really look into it. Look at people that had success, because we can get stuck in the stereotypes. That autism
Mhm.
is it's a big time disability, and I think we gotta look more, think outside the box, and look at the many examples we have of people in the autism community that have made a difference.
Yeah, and just understanding how fabulous the mind of a person with autism can be. And I think we can learn so much about somebody with autism if we just take the time to be patient and to really get to know them and learn how, you know, what your strengths are and how to help you, and then you can help us in turn. Yeah.
That's what it's
So
about.
what?
It's not about one person or anything like that. It's about the way
Mhm.
we're going to move forward is together, and it's about helping each other.
Yep.
I think that's the way to move forward and to really spread awareness and acceptance.
Yes, I love it. So what advice would you give to parents and educators who are supporting children or youth with autism? Like, how can they create an environment? So not just with their words or how they treat them, but how can they create an
Mhm.
environment that encourages self-acceptance and growth?
I tell you what helped me. As far as environment, it really helped when you have an open mind to that child. And obviously, I talked about the words earlier, but I think it's really just having love for that person or child, and
Mm-hmm.
really like connect with them, and having a space for them where they don't feel pressured or anything like that or feel judged. Because I think that's very important. That's what helped me when I had my brothers around. They always had a space for me to talk when I had struggles with things. And honestly, I think that's the most important thing, to show them a lot of love because they need it.
Yeah. So I'm going to do a little bit of a backtrack. So you talked a lot about in school your frustration and your anger because you felt like they were kind of like pigeonholing you and putting you in a box and not allowing you to grow. What advice would you give to other people with autism in a situation like that on how to advocate for themselves?
How to advocate, I think it's communicating and not being afraid of communication. I know in those situations, it can be very scary and it can be very confusing. But just always remember you have the ability within you. No matter what environment you're in, you can excel.
Mhm.
One thing I would have done differently if I was talking to my younger self, and this I think this comes up a lot of people, highly invest in
Yep.
meditation. Because everybody can do it, and when you're in situations or just need some clarity,
Mhm.
meditation is a great tool.
Yeah. So can you talk a little bit more about that, Gage, about how meditation has helped you and maybe help if there's parents watching, help them understand how they can help teach it to their child?
Meditation, it's the way I learned it helped a lot was guided. Um, Guided meditation is a great way because I believe everyone, it's a scientific fact, everyone can do meditation. Um, but pure concept of meditation. It's not like taking everything out of your head. It's more about being present with your faults and letting them go, and allowing yourself to really relax and just breathe. And it's involving a lot of awareness. And the way it helped me, I started meditating really 4 years ago. And it's not just sitting down and close your eyes. It can be like washing the dishes, or when you're rushing, take a minute to breathe and just really be aware of your surroundings. and that could help people. That's what helped me a lot. Like when I'm in like, because I go to very high stimulating places, and I can get a little overwhelmed right away. And what I do is
Mm.
I do the 3 second rule. I take 3 deep breaths, and it calms me down right away because I count to 3, and it's a great way to calm yourself, especially high stimulating situations, which can include school. And I just would recommend looking at guided meditations. And there's like 5 to 10 minute ones. You just want to start slow.
Mm.
And I think even young as 5 years old, five or six, I think could be a great start for them because by the time they get older, they already have the practices.
Yeah, I love that. So, what advice would you give to parents on how to engage with their child, like a younger child, when they see different autistic type behaviors so that they don't start limiting them? Like, what would you tell parents to do to make sure they leave that world kind of open?
Keep your mind open and be open to different types of communication because it's not because we think our way of communication it's worked for us, but not might work for them or other people. So
Mhm.
I think it's really trying to communicate with them, talk with them, see what works for them, and just be. I think presence is the best thing you can do, and just really being with them and just supporting them the best way you can. And
Mm-hmm.
that's probably the best way. That's probably the best thing you could do.
Right, right. And communication, like you said, can look very different for everybody. For some, it's a lot of talking, and for some, it might be picture exchange or using an augmentative device, but to just be patient and work through it slowly and not frustrated, right? And to just have
Exactly.
grace. Yeah, awesome. So I just have one other major question is if you could offer one piece of advice to young people with autism who are just starting to explore their strengths and challenges, what would it be? So like how are you going to help them? Like if you were to guide them in how to figure out what their strengths are and move forward with it, and then how to handle their weaknesses or challenges, what advice would you give them in those scenarios?
The way to handle weaknesses and things that you're going to struggle with, my advice with that would be follow your heart and give yourself love. You know, there's going to be times, even recently, I even went to Toastmasters. It was my first time speaking 6 months, and everyone said I did good, but I was severely critical of myself because I have high standards and I felt very
Mm-hmm.
down. But this quote really stuck with me: "Be bad, be good." You're not going to be good right away. Look at all the people in history. They have failed a lot, but they didn't give up, and they made a difference in life and on themselves. So you're going to have moments where you feel like you failed and things like that, but they're really just lessons. And the only
Mm-hmm.
and you're going to be better than you were before. You know, from my experience of doing podcasts and just life. You know,
Yep.
it can failures are actually great for you because they'll teach you to get stronger and you can learn a lot from that. As long as you don't beat yourself up too much, because we as a whole can beat ourselves up to the point where it can be very harmful. So I think
Mm-hmm.
mostly giving yourself love through those moments. I think that's the biggest thing.
Yeah. And you're walking testimony of if you can find your strengths and overcome those odds of how successful you can be. And you're just living. It's so fun talking with you, Gage, and getting to know you because you just bring about like just joy. You just radiate it. And it's just such a wonderful thing that you bring to people everywhere around you. And I really can't wait for the day to meet you in person. And for all the people that are watching, I want you to know Gage is one of the admins on our Adapted Ed website or Facebook group. And so if you ever have questions for him, reach out. He's available. We love all of you on our Facebook group, and we're just super excited to share as much knowledge as we possibly can. So, Gage, anything that you want to say before we say goodbye? Any last bits of advice or inspiration or whatever you can think of?
The only advice I could have is for the parents and for people that have autism. Just give each other love and just be understanding of each other because there's going to be difficult moments, but you can get through them and get stronger from his experiences, because no one's perfect, and saying we can be a little hard on ourselves. So just give yourselves love and that person love, and I'm grateful
Great
to be here
advice.
and all the kind words.
Yes, great advice. Well, I appreciate you taking the time out tonight to talk with me, Gage. And we will be talking again soon. So I hope
I'm
you have a
looking
great
forward to it.
evening. You too. Have a great evening. We'll talk to you.
Yeah, you too. Much love.
Yep. Bye-bye.